yes, I can. That was my attitude. And if you told me I couldn't do something, I'll show you I can do it.
A lot of people are like lemmings. I mean, they'll blindly follow, and sometimes one of them gets out of the pack. And that's always scary to the other lemmings, because it may prove that maybe they were wrong. Thank God for the ones that go out and, you know, break away sometimes.
They had dreams. They had the courage. They wanted it. You know, it was a strong group of ladies. They paved the way for the future.
I'm having a fun with all our golfing
bucket
friends.
They were pioneers in the really women's sports, not just golf. Really was the forerunner of all of women's sports.
Did it feel like a sacrifice ever?
No, you never think it's a sacrifice. It's something you want to do. Never. Good question.
The obstacles that they overcame, just in a male-dominated world at that time, where women were supposed to be, you know, in their houses cooking and cleaning and raising children. You know, they were really, truly pioneers.
And we worked hard. We didn't anticipate that what would happen has happened.
The founders, you know, they're the reason that I'm able to do what I'm doing today.
Tell me, how do you feel about that you made this happen?
13 women getting together to form such an organization. They had to be brave. They had to be brave, they had to be confident, and they had to have passion.
When she called me, whenever it was, you were gonna do this? I said, well, y'all better hurry, because there's only 4 of us left. Yeah, out of 13.
Little girl, little girl, you got those pretty, pretty eyes. Little girl, you got those pretty, pretty eyes. What a devil in your cheek, and a devil within, and you're just my size. Little girl, oh, make you thrill me like you do. Little girl, what make you thrill me like you do? Is it your itty bitty wall, squeaky, squeaky toy that'll make me fall? Little girl, why do they call you Hammer Pine? I collect ducks. I have 200 ducks at home of every substance that ever was produced in a duck.
I think Shirley is a great gal. She's got the right thing. Her heart beats the right way.
She really says it like it is, you know what I mean? She's very outspoken and opinionated.
She's very smart.
She's priceless.
In the neighborhood, the kids, the boys, caddied, and on Monday they could play on the golf course free. And they said if I had a golf club, I could go play with them. I was 11 years old, and I found some golf balls, and I sold them back to the golfers and got on the streetcar and went down into the city of Detroit to find a golf club for $1. And I went to Griswold's sporting goods store, and they had a big barrel of clubs. And there were tall ones, short ones, bent ones, wooden ones. I didn't know one from the other, and I found one that was kind of short. and kind of straight. So I brought it home, showed the caddies, and I said, I got my club. I can go on Monday and play with you. And they all laughed at me. Because it was a putter. And the putter's the last club you use to win or lose a tournament. So I started at the end, and I'm trying to get to the beginning.
I'm just an ordinary person, lived an ordinary life.
Do you think about it?
No, I never think about it. Now here's the picture. You got to get this picture. Look at that one. Can you get that in your story?
Marilyn is so nice that all through our years on tour, I used to thought she was fake. Nobody could be that nice. But I found out since then she really is that way.
She would ask the guy pumping gas what his name was, where he lived, how many people he had, and he had a bad, beat-up old pair of shoes, and she'd give him $20.
You rarely see somebody that really thinks there is a Santa Claus.
Because it was Schickelgruber. Well, when I was 10, 11, and 12 years of age, I was the pitcher, the coach, and the manager of a boys' baseball team in Wichita, Kansas. And when I came home from pitching one day when I was 12, and my mother said, "How'd you do today, dear?" And I took my mitt and I threw it against the wall and I said, "Oh, a four-letter word beginning with S." Well, she marched me into the lavatory and washed my mouth out with Lifebuoy soap. And when my dad came home, she told him what I had said. And he said, we better take her out to the Wichita Country Club in Wichita, Kansas, and teach her a more ladylike sport. So a bad word actually got me going into golf.
You don't beat me unless you beat me. Just the way I was is the way I was, and the way I am. I'm still that way today, even at my age.
She was a competitor, very kind person if you knew her.
Honest, sincere, has all the right values.
She had a dog named Dammit.
But she stayed within herself, Louise. Yeah.
Well, the first set of clubs I ever had were wooden shafts that Dad had in pro shop, old clubs that were stuck in a barrel, and he sawed them off to suit me, and he used bicycle tape for grips. And I remember him saw me wrap a club around the pine tree one time and said, "Sis, when you learn to be a lady on the golf course, you can have your clubs back when you come apologize." About a week later, I went, I'm sorry, Dad, I won't do that again. And I never did.
They're gonna ask you questions, but try to just look at me
Okay,
when you answer.
okay.
Just wanna keep you looking right.
I'll pretend you're a ventriloquist
Yeah.
or something.
When they ask the question, I'll just move my mouth.
Okay.
She's a good kid. I like Marlene, always have and always will.
She was a good putter, good competitor. She and her sister, you know, were quite the stars on the LPGA circuit.
My father, he wanted 2 young boys because he saw the future in golf, and he got 2 little runt girls. He wanted to teach us a skill that could earn us some money and get us out of Eureka, South Dakota. He started me at 3½, put a golf club in my hand. Have you seen this? What's that? Have you seen this? This is me, this is my sister, my father, and my mother. Life magazine, they wanted to start because we were at that time I held all the records for the youngest ever to do something or other.
They put a doll in the shop then.
Well, I think they wanted to point out that at 13 I should be playing with dolls instead of trying to start a golf career. I never played with dolls. I was too busy. That was the way they set it up. I was the youngest player. My sister was probably the next youngest. She was 6.5 years older than I, so she would have been 14. There was never any jealousy. She probably rooted for me more than she rooted for herself. I played in the South Dakota State Championship when I was 7. That same year or the next year, I played in the Women's Western Open in Chicago. I was kind of an oddity, or we both were.
She was a show person. She knew she was good, and she told everybody she was good. And I'm here, and I'm gonna win.
She's a real cut-up. She's a jokester. She's a good person.
Courage, strength, winner.
She didn't care what she did or how she did it. She did it. That was Babe.
Babe Zaharias was from Beaumont, Texas. Her father was a carpenter, large family, and had kind of a struggle getting along. There was a series of hedges in her neighborhood, one right after another, and she would hurdle over the hedges.
Babe Didrikson leads the world as champion girl athlete. This shows her victory.
She even performed in vaudeville, playing a harmonica, anything to do to make a little money. She always wanted to win. She wanted to be the best, and she went to great lengths to do that.
You better run. Hey, you better run. You better run, child. Yeah, you better run.
I think back about how I got into the game of golf. And I was in grade school, and I looked in the encyclopedia under sports, and there was a name there, Babe Didrikson. And Babe Didrikson did everything. And in '32, in the Olympics, she won medals.
I'm awfully glad to have been able to set this new hurdle mark and hope to do some better some other time.
And then she did other sports, all kinds of sports. So I thought, gee whiz, she did all those things. After winning in the Olympics, she found that there was nothing to play in.
It was very frustrating to her because here she was, probably the greatest woman athlete of all time, and she couldn't make a living doing it, really. There were no professional sports leagues for women.
When I went to college at the University of Kansas, there was no girls' golf team. But my dad went to Fog Allen, the director of athletics, to ask if he could get some expense money for his daughter to play in the National Intercollegiate Golf Tournament, which is going to be in Ohio State. His reply was, "Mr. Smith, it's too bad your daughter is not a boy."
There was a boys' junior championship. They wouldn't let me play in it at first, and the paper, the media got on them so bad that they were forced to let me play. There was this boy, I thought he was really cool, you know, he was 15, and so I beat him in the finals, and he just never spoke to me again for a long while.
Thank you very much, Bud. You know, Howard, I taught Bud how to play football.
Is that right?
Yeah, we played for the 50th Street Tigers,
Where was that, Patty?
Minneapolis, Minnesota.
What did you play?
I played quarterback and he played tackle.
Well, Patty, I know that the people are interested in how you hit those golf shots, and for many years you've been known as one of America's greatest putters.
Patty Berg was women's golf, but in my day, I mean, that's all you'd heard about.
Patty Berg, who has won them all, drives in one of the biggest.
1941, we had the National Amateur at Brookline, Massachusetts. And Patty, being a professional, was not allowed in the clubhouse, believe it or not.
One of the
1941 and 43 Open, Patty cuts that lead to 1 hole.
Golf was a rich man's game. In that era, you couldn't compete unless you belonged to an organization or a private club. It was very closed.
A new clubhouse has recently been completed, and for the enjoyment of golf...
In those days, it was kind of a class thing. You know, we were from the wrong side of the tracks.
The only openings for competition in that era was to have enough money to drive to Florida in the winter and play in private invitational events, which Marilyn and I never had that opportunity.
Of course, then during the war years, everything changed.
Oh, I remember where I was.
Where?
Playing kick the can with the boys out in the street.
Of course you were.
And I can see my dad coming out of the door and he said, we've been attacked by the Japanese. So we just went back and played kick the can. You know, it didn't mean much. But my mother was born in Germany. And somehow the people in the neighborhood knew that, and they would throw rocks at her window.
Records a few personal opinions on the timely question, should sports be discontinued for the duration?
During World War II, there were no tournaments, period, men or women, or there was no baseball. Nothing went on during World War II in competitions.
The importance of sports has been challenged. The value of its...
The men were in the military. Women were expected to take over the jobs over here.
And greatly increased demands...
During the war, we had service station. When the draft, all the young men were gone. So they hired women that worked in the service station. In those days, they checked the oil, washed the windshield, you know, checked the air and the tires, and this, that, and the other. I worked for the Gulf Oil Corporation for 8 years, and I put a tire iron behind my front seat. When I have to go check on these stations and see everything was going on, believe me, my teeth chattered a couple of times.
When women began to respond, convinced they could do factory work or anything within their strength that men could do for Uncle Sam.
Women took up the slack. Rosie the Riveter and whatnot.
Winner one up. Patty takes over the custody of the Western Open crown for the second time in 3 years. A grand uphill fight climaxed by a triumph, which for thrills is exceeded only by this greater moment as she signs up with the Women's Reserve Corps of the U.S. Marines and promptly models her next new hat. We hasten to admit, Patty, on you it looks good.
Betty Hicks served in the U.S. Coast Guard as a public relations officer. Betty Jameson took a job with the Army Air Corps in San Antonio driving trucks. Helen Detweiler was a member of the WASP, Women's Air Service Pilots, and she actually flew B-17 bombers over to England from the United States to drop them off for the U.S. men's military to fly. Women were taking part in the war, and these were all great golfers. They couldn't just leave their job as a member of the military to play in golf tournaments.
Well, in World War II, they weren't allowed to make golf clubs. They weren't allowed to make golf balls because they were made out of rubber or balata. Until the war was over, there were no new golf balls.
When the war ended, the federal government and industry in America were concerned about returning men to the jobs that women had held during the war. Women had carried a lot of the work burden in the United States. Now the men come home and they want to get the men back in those jobs. Was that feeling behind it that I want to do something other than teach school or be a secretary or be a wife and mother. I'm ready for my life to begin. I want to have some adventure.
Babe Zaharias, famous athlete, tees off in the All-American Championship at Chicago.
We very seldom ever had tournaments where it was a mixed tournament where men and women played together. That was a real big thing because George S. May allowed men amateurs, men pros, lady pros, lady amateurs, celebrities, everybody could play. It was like a circus. The sun came up and you started playing. At the end of the day, they didn't get finished. You went the next morning and you played. He brought the public interest into the game of golf.
Chicago's annual Tam O'Shanter Golf Tournament has Byron Nelson. His goal.
You actually had men like Byron Nelson, and they were great golfers, and they were great names too. And you were putting people out there whom everybody knew, and that was fantastic golf.
The men were objecting to have equal pay.
Betty Hicks won the World Open. Byron Nelson won the men's division.
Touch and wins. This year's Tam O'Shanter is worth a cool $10,000. Oh, what winnings and what...
Betty Hicks gets $500. That was the catalyst for forming the Women's Professional Golf Association.
The WPGA was set up by Ellen Griffin and Hope Signius. Then on the West Coast, there was Helen Detweiler and Betty Hicks.
Hope Signius and her father owned a gin mill, and he's the one that put the money up for tournaments so they could play.
Hope Signius had money. Ellen Griffin had determination and stick-to-itiveness, and they formed it so that they could bargain with sponsors like George S. May and try to equalize the purses a little bit. So that was in 1944.
I think it was incredibly difficult because you had letters flying back and forth, and it was really difficult for them to get anything off the ground. And they did get a few tournaments off the ground.
Finally had 6 tournaments. They had the Women's Western Open, they had the Women's Texas Open, the U.S. Women's Open, the Hard Scrabble Invitational in Arkansas, the Tampa Women's Open. There was the title holders in Augusta, Georgia, at Augusta Country Club, which was considered the women's version of the Masters. They had their first U.S. Women's Open.
Showing the form that won her the 1941 and 43 Open.
It was a match play event. It was a grueling contest. They played about 36 holes a day, and Patty finally won that.
And I thought, gee, that'd be great. As soon as I get out of high school, I'm going to join the WPGA. Well, the WPGA fizzle-dizzled out.
Geographically, you know, it was too difficult for them to organize. And I think there was quite a lot of dissent between what they should do.
In 1948, the WPGA just sort of fell apart. It's because the women didn't want to do the work, according to Betty Hicks.
Yeah, I wouldn't agree with that. I think they wanted to do the work. I think they found it too difficult to agree on what the work was.
They didn't want to do all the housekeeping it took to run these championships. It just started to crumble.
They did have disagreements, as any lot of people will, but I don't think it was a lack of trying.
So, very simple, they didn't have the money.
But they were, you know, they were amazing pioneer women, those women. Women's amateur golf has always done very well. I think women's professional golf was regarded very differently. For women to even become professional golfers, people didn't like athletic women. You know, women weren't supposed to do that.
We were playing the Women's Western Open in Skycrest Country Club in the Chicago area in June of 1949. And we're sitting eating breakfast with Babe, and Babe looked at me and she said, "Listen, kid, why don't you turn pro?" So I said, "Well, Babe, how do you do that?" And she stood up, walked around the table, and put her hand on my head, just clunk. I almost bit my tongue off. Clunk, she said, I pronounce you a pro. Go down there on the tee and tell them you're a pro.
An amateur never has prize money. There's no prize money, you get silverware. If you took money, you were a professional.
It seems from looking here that Louise had quite an amateur career.
She sort of ruled the roost of amateur golf on both the U.S. side as well as over in the United Kingdom.
When I won the British, it was the epitome of my amateur career, you might say. There was nothing else left that I was eligible to play in to win.
There were women who wanted to be professionals, and there was nothing for them to play in. I mean, you could not make money as a professional because there weren't any tournaments.
We were all of one mind that we wanted the place for women to do something they loved and make a living at it.
Well, maybe it was we were just dumb or stupid or something. We just wanted to play golf.
In 1948, L.B. Isley with Wilson Sporting Goods got in touch with Fred Corcoran. Now, Fred had been tournament director for the PGA Tour. He was an agent. He had great clients. He had Ted Williams. He had Sam Snead. So he had Babe Zaharias.
And she was the personality who came along and made it possible. Whatever Babe was doing, then people were interested whether she won or lost. If she lost, she was the headlines, which the other women found difficult.
The fabulous Babe Dietrichson is the apple of the gallery's eye as she turns in a fine performance over the grueling 72 holes. Here, she makes a smooth approach.
You had wonderful women golfers. I mean, Patty Berg and Louise Suggs were probably both finer golfers.
Patty Berg is making a strong finish.
Miss Suggs is holding off. That's enough to make any challenger realize she's up against the toughest competition in women's golf.
Babe just had so much more in terms of hitting the golf ball. I mean, she just hit the golf ball so much further than everybody else. Because Babe was probably more like a man playing golf, people wanted to watch her.
So she went to Wilson Sporting Goods and said, I want a tour and I want to be able to play against other competitors. She convinced Mr. Isley, who was president of Wilson, and Spalding and McGregor to hire Fred Corcoran.
He wanted to further promote sporting goods equipment. So it would put the name of those golf clubs out there, those big staff bags that would say Patty Berg, Wilson on the side, in front of spectators. They had a meeting at the Venetian Hotel in 1949 with Patty Berg, Babe, and George Zaharias, and Fred Corcoran. And they decided they would really turn the WPGA into the LPGA.
When we became the LPGA in 1950, at Rolling Hills Country Club in Wichita, Kansas.
I was 15. It was more than money. We wanted the world to recognize that women can be great golfers.
Remarkable that those women got that off the ground.
We were a group like a carnival, and we went from town to town to town. We did the whole thing ourselves.
We had physical struggles because we had to drive so far. One of our trips was 1,600 miles from Spokane, Washington to Waterloo. That took almost 2 days.
We didn't have cell phones. We had ping pong paddles, One was yellow, one was red, one was green, and we'd wave it out the window. And the food was green, yellow was pea, and red was gas. And if we saw a cop's car behind a signboard, we'd blink our lights so that the people behind us would know that there's a cop.
You know, we'd usually caravan from place to place with 3 or 4 cars. And Louise used to caravan sometimes with me. And you know how she talks? She'd say, "Now slow down. I don't like to go as fast as you."
And you can well imagine what went on from there. Marlene Hagee was driving my car, and all of a sudden she slammed on the brakes and we skidded sideways up to this 18-wheeler. And when I looked up, we had slid practically under the trailer. I said, "Get out, I'm driving. I don't care how sleepy I am. I'm better driver sleepy than you are awake," supposedly.
I took out.
There were no interstates. We used to go through all the little towns.
The whole city turned out for our little tournament.
Well, we checked in, of course, into the motel or the hotel. Some of us would speak at a Kiwanis or Alliance luncheon to promote the tour. Of course, we had to get our hair done.
We'd go to the local ball games and hit shots from home plate. And under lights, hitting the golf ball with an 8-iron looks like you're knocking 10,000 miles.
We went to the local radio station. We had posters. We stopped at all the stores. "Can we put this in your window?"
People like that were so supportive. This one tournament, we had 19 players, but we only paid 18 people. So what did the people in Waterloo do? They passed a hat around to the people, and they got $100 for the last place. Gives me goosebumps to think about.
Marilyn Smith, one of the tour's most popular young ladies, shows why she is also a top
We were really good in that type of atmosphere. When you put us in a big city, no. Wasn't time yet.
The tour back in those early days, it was like a big family.
The nation's distaff swingers arrive early to get a little practice before teeing off on the final round of the 72-hole tournament.
We would go to a club and give an hour demonstration clinic showing how people did things incorrectly, and then we'd show them how to do it correctly. And then we would play 9 holes with the pro, the ladies champion, the men's champion. And as we played the hole, we would explain how we were approaching the shot. So we were teaching them a learning experience.
Here we are, a slice from left to right, putting the visor in slicing position. You can see how important the visor is. See, the club on the outside of the line. Hitting the ball now from left to right.
The more people we got involved in playing, the more spectators would want to come and watch us perform.
When we had these tournaments, they would have an evening for us to dress up and come to the club and meet the people, the sponsors.
I've gone to so many cocktail parties, I can't tell you. And I don't drink. I could make a drink last until the ice melted.
Baby, don't know the lengths that I would go to.
Inside the clubhouse, we would model these clothes for the people. That was another way of publicizing that we were feminine too. We weren't just, you know, we could dress up too.
How far will I roll?
Some didn't want to do it. In fact, we got to the point sometimes where we had to fine them if they didn't go. So, and we did.
And the women professionals had to talk to all these people, and that certainly wouldn't have suited Louise.
In anything you do where you rely on the public to pay your way, you have to treat people nicely, you have to have grace, you have to not be a hothead.
Come on out here. Looky here, looky here. You're Alice?
That's right.
And you're?
Marlene.
Marlene. Turn around, let the folks say, you know, this is really something, Don. Not only are they look like athletes, and yet they're beautiful. You bet. Just beautiful. And you slug these golf balls? How much do you weigh?
I weigh 120.
120?
Yes.
And you?
I weigh 106 with all my clothes on.
On television, it has to be that.
We played the National Open one time at Wingfoot in New York. And so Alice and I had to go buy some skirts because slacks were not accepted. Women's golfers couldn't wear slacks on the golf course because they looked too masculine. I don't know.
With more and more attractive pros, a lot of men are beginning to realize that the Ladies Pro Tour offers a lot more to attract galleries than just good golf.
It is a fact, however, that competitive athletics tend to destroy all that is natural in women and all that which tends to make them attractive to men.
Babe was quite aware of the fact that she needed to become more ladylike to be more acceptable. People didn't like athletic women. I think they still find it hard. All through the decades, they found it hard to deal with athletic women.
Getting sponsorship was the hardest thing. We depended on the Lions Club, the Civitan Group, and they would have us come there as an attraction so they would make money. And they would put up a price. The first 25, 30 years, all we did is go from spot A to B to C, whoever would put up some money for us to play for.
Players ran the tour. There was no paid staff.
We had a treasurer who gave out the money, you know, at the end of the tournament. And then we had a tournament committee who went out and set up the golf courses, lime off certain areas and did all that. We had a pairings committee. And then we had someone that called up after the tournament to Associated Press to give the scores.
You know, it was just a put-together thing.
We didn't get much press, honey. If we got any press, it was on the back page, and I always misspelled my name. My name has 2 N's on Maryland, and they didn't believe it. They always chopped that off.
As a professional, we played a course, and I looked down the fairway, and, well, where's the grass? And I thought, what in the hell have I done?
The kind of golf courses we played on in those days were certainly not like they are today. So, right now, some of the fairways are better than most of the greens that we played.
We played steel shafts, wooden heads. We only had one wedge. We could play a tune with our wedge.
We played courses much longer than what they play today.
Courses that were brand new, and we were kind of a guinea pig before the men came.
Then another course we played in 1950 was a 60-mile-an-hour wind. And I was paired with Louise Suggs and Shirley Sport. Shirley was going to take a 3-wood shot to hit the ball. Well, the wind blew her off balance, and she missed the ball. Well, we went, just laughed and thought that was so funny, you know. Well, Louise plugged along, and she had a 78, which is one of the best rounds of golf in 60-mile-an-hour winds.
There's a light in my life shining over.
The only way I know to describe it is you just took what you could get.
There's a light in my life shining over me. Yeah. Let your blessings from above fill me.
They're playing for their next meal, for the next place they're going to stay. They're playing for the love of it, but they're also playing to make it a job.
Well, we were supposed to be married in the house and taking care of children, and it wasn't a norm to have a woman out on the golf course.
My friends are gone, yeah. But if I put my trust in Jesus, the burdens will lighten.
We overcame that. We just didn't pay attention to that.
In my life, shining over me.
Well, anything in those days in a skirt that was skinny, halfway combed hair and stuff, they whistled at.
They didn't know quite how to take us, because it was normal for a man to be an athlete. It wasn't normal for a woman to be an athlete. Like, why would you want to do this?
It was all right to play for a silver pot. I think when you became a professional, that was regarded as really different, and to play for money wasn't nice as a woman.
Generally speaking, men have a hard time accepting a female athlete. If a woman could hit to the pin with the same club that a man uses, she'd beat him every time. Of course, I was jumped on, like, you can imagine what, by the press for saying that. But that's what I believed.
Louise was the first woman to play against men at a professional level. Louise managed to win it. She said that that particular day, playing from the same tees with the men, after the 54-hole competition had ended, she was the winner. As she was walking out of the event in the parking lot, she saw Sam Snead, and he was sort of gruff and head down and walking away, and then he kind of turned back and had a few curt remarks, and Louise took great pleasure in saying to Sam,
Sam, I don't know what the hell you're bitching about because you weren't even second. So that he scratched out of there and left about a half ton of rubber on the cement.
Louise Huggs and I were paired in a twosome, and I hooked the ball into the left rough. And I said, Louise, I said, this isn't my ball. And she said, oh my God, I was assessed shot for every shot you hit with the wrong ball. She was really militant about doing things the right way and everything. She said, Marlene, I want to tell you, she said, I don't know if anyone else would have done what you did because nobody would have ever known. That meant so much to me. That was a better gift than winning the tournament, really, to have somebody like Louise say that.
On the course, I had no friends. Anybody that I played was an enemy. Made no difference who it was. In my nature, competitive nature to win.
Well, Louise has probably told you about her with Babe, haven't she?
Yeah.
So I won't go into that.
Babe not only was self-promoting, she was all-consuming of the space around her, and that didn't set too well with Louise.
I was paired with her to qualify for the Western Amateur in Indianapolis. Changed shoes, she came in, and I got up and walked over, and I said, Mrs. Harris, I'd like to introduce myself. We're paired together today. And she looked at me up and down and said, well, so what? Well, that was the beginning of a beautiful friendship, I might add.
Louise Suggs was a gem so far as a golf swing is concerned, but the personality was Babe. And Louise didn't have that personality, found it terribly difficult to project.
They were very different personalities. Babe Zaharias was a show-off, very outgoing. Louise Suggs is very reserved.
Louise just wanted to do her thing and win, and, quietly.
And Patty Berg was always able to project, but, Babe just had so much more in terms of hitting the golf ball. I mean, she just hit the golf ball so much further than everybody else and was so athletic. I mean, you couldn't ever describe Patty Berg as athletic. She was a great golfer, but she wasn't athletic, and Babe was.
Had it not been for her, the LPGA probably wouldn't have started for another decade. She went in the locker room one time and she said, all right, you girls, I need to make more money than you do because I am the star.
Babe Didrikson Zaharias and Patty Berg.
And Patty cornered her afterwards and said, Babe, you may be the star, but every star's got to have a chorus line.
The world's leading woman athlete teeing off in the final round with a 3-hole lead. But the sturdy Minneapolis Redhead is right after in a thrilling homestretch battle at Chicago's Skycrest course. Following the form that won her the 1941 and 43 Open, Patty cuts that lead to one hole with sharp shooting like this. The Babe isn't missing them either. Quite a ding-dong affair. At the end of the regular 36 holes, the girls were all even. It was shots like this that helped Patty square the match with the highly favored Mrs. Zaharias, carrying the play into a hectic overtime duel. Patty copped the cup with her putt on the 37th to win the Western Open for the third time, equaling the Babe's victories in the same event.
Somebody asked me one time, do you all get together before the tournament starts and decide who's going to win the tournament? I said, no. If you've ever seen three cats fighting over a plate of fish, you'll know why.
I'll trade you my heart for your heart, baby. Give you all my kisses to boot. I'll trade you my heart for your heart, baby. Give you all my kisses to boot.
You'll never find any three more competitive women than we were.
Bang, 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 bang. Bang, 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 and bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang. Bang, and bang. I'll trade you my lips for your lips.
Louise was the one that dug in and worked. She didn't care if she got any credit for it. Patty liked the credit. And Babe was the most charismatic.
Bang, 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 bang. Bang, 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 and bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang.
Hi, sport fans. This is Howard Miller, ready to take you around the nation for a close-up look at some great sporting scenes.
50 stars led by Babe Didman's Open Championship. Babe holds the Rolling Hills Courts women's record with a 70, and today she's a co-favorite again. The other favorite is defending champion Louise Suggs. Last year, she won her first National Open at Landover, Maryland, with a record 291. And still in there is Patty Berg of Minneapolis, who won the first National Open back in 1936, 14 years ago.
A sponsor wouldn't stand for not having Babe and Patty and myself and a few other people like that.
Because we both had red hair and we were about the same stature, people started following me because they thought it was Patty Berg. And then when they found out it wasn't Patty Berg, they went somewhere else.
She was good with the crowds, and she was fantastic.
I think I was closer to Patty on a personal basis. She was a very pleasant person to be with and outgoing, and tried to promote the game of golf other than herself, where I think Babe was busy promoting herself.
But the main gallery is following the Babe again, out to sew it up. Like a champion, she saves her best round for the final day and plays amazing golf. The $1,250 mean $14,000 for the Babe so far, while amateur Betsy is happy to nose out Louise Suggs. Babe and Betsy, two happy lasses.
Babe irritated some people that were serious because she was a cut-up, and she'd do some things sometimes called gamesmanship to bother you. And then she'd make fun of it later, so it was hard to stay mad at her, but you knew that she was going to try to do some stuff.
She always swore that she never got appearance money because the LPGA didn't allow that, still doesn't allow it.
Oh, yes, I would have said she definitely got appearance fee to turn up at tournaments and would have asked for them and would have got them, and maybe would have been resented for having got them.
Patty Berg said she never broke any rules, and Louise Suggs says otherwise.
Louise absolutely was the conscience of the rules, even to a point where she refused to sign one of the Babe's cards after the event because she felt that she pressured one of the Rules Committee people to give her that favorable ruling.
To this day, I don't know how much appearance money she got, but she told the story that she always gave it to the LPGA. She did not. That's one of those things that she and I came to blows about, just about.
I wouldn't have thought that they found it easy to live with Babe, those women. But they knew that she was their bread and butter. So, I mean, you know, you can't knock your bread and butter.
You know, there's a difference between being a buddy and respecting the talent. There was a great respect for the talent.
When I first met Babe, it was in Sacramento. She had the greatest hazel eyes I have ever seen. I mean, they were right on you, going through you, towards you, any which way, but full of life.
But the Babe sinks her to win with a new course record of 298. Some said she'd been slipping this winter, but the Babe never played better golf.
In 1948, she had a pain in her side, and instead of finding out what was the problem medically, she ignored it, and that went on for 4 years, which seems unbelievable that somebody could have that much pain and then go on for another 4 years before she did anything about it.
It was just a startling thing that this great athlete with this perfect body could have anything go so wrong. And it was very hard. Fred Corcoran, after Babe Zaharias got really sick, he resigned.
The funds were dropped, so he left us. And then several of us took over as tournament directors to get tournaments.
Well, we did whatever we had to do. We couldn't afford a commissioner for a few years. And that's when some of our arguments started.
Everybody had to come to the meeting, and you discussed whatever you wanted to talk about and get up and argue about it and try to get in an agreement as to what we're going to do.
There was a lot of disharmony in those meetings. It must have been really hard.
Oh, some of them were scream fests.
Women hold a grudge. It's hard. Men, you know, they can go in a meeting and argue and cuss and swear, but women hold a grudge, and that's not good. You gotta let it go.
We all came together in the end. You know, it was just a very passionate display of opinions.
This article, it came out in January 1954. She did it tongue-in-cheek, but at the same time, I think it did upset most of the women she wrote about. Patty Berg was the healthiest hypochondriac.
Most of us get amusedly weary hearing of Patty Berg's. Well, okay.
Marlene Bauer has never finished high school. That's neat. But when I left, the principal of the school, he said, "You're wasting your time here. You'll learn more on the tour." So she didn't tell the whole story. That's perfect.
Outgoing Marilyn Smith sometimes gets so sociable with a tournament gal that she forgets to hit her shots.
I had many opportunities to be engaged or married, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to just keep going all by myself. That was the choice I made.
Well, I almost got married 2 or 3 times, you know, and it's very hard to settle down, you know, when you're traveling like that. That would have been a big decision to quit. I wasn't in love with him enough to do that, to quit the tour and marry him.
People like that put other people down, they don't like themselves. And so they feel better when they can push somebody down a little farther so they're taller.
I don't think it endeared her to her fellow competitors. But on the other hand, it was probably great publicity for the LPGA. I'm sure that Babe was really annoyed by the article. She told Betty Hicks that she would leave the tour and see how Suggs earns the money. George actually would not have let Babe leave the tour because George was earning money with Babe earning money.
The Wichita Country Club in Kansas makes way for a new USGA Women's Open Golf Champion with Mrs. Babe Zaharias sidelined by illness. Faye Crocker of Montevideo.
And she collapsed in 1952 at a tournament in Texas. And it wasn't until 1953 that she was actually diagnosed with colon cancer.
You never thought of her as a victim or being sick. She was a very good trooper about that. She took what life handed her and carried on.
After Babe got cancer in 1953 and had the dramatic surgery that she had to have in order to survive, everybody thought she was finished. But she loved golf so much that she slowly began to come back.
In the Women's National Open near Boston, Babe Didrikson Zaharias making a...
And it must have been her strength, her determination, that made her go on.
Babe drops a 6-footer to preserve her par and her big lead.
And she won by 10 strokes. And I consider that the greatest women's open victory of all time.
Mrs. Zaharias has the crown wrapped up. Just 18 months ago, she underwent an operation for cancer. Everyone said her career was over. But here she is, winning by a mile, a margin of 12 strokes with a score of 291, one of the most inspiring comebacks in all sports history. USGA President Ike Granger presents the cup, then Babe offers some touching remarks.
I don't like to keep bringing up this hospital deal of mine, but I was laying there in room 201 at the Hotel Dieu Hospital, and these reports were going out about that I never play championship or tournament golf again. And I laid in the bed and I says, please, God, let me play again. And he answered my prayer. And I want to thank God for letting me win again. It's really wonderful.
Last time I saw Babe was at the women's title holders in Augusta. Now, she'd had her operation for cancer, and things aren't looking too good. And it's the first time I checked those eyes. Those eyes were lifeless now. Babe Zaharias spent her last Christmas in Fort Worth, Texas. She was good friends with R.L. and Bertha Bowen. R.L. flew them from Beaumont, and Babe got off this little plane, and she still had on her pajamas and her nightgown. And Babe said to Bertha, she said, can you take me out to Colonial Country Club? And Bertha said yes, and they got in Bertha's station wagon, and they drove out. They drove along this little dirt road that went up next to the second green, and Bertha helped Babe out of the car. And she said, I just wanted to see a golf course one more time. You know, it was terrible for a lot of us.
Well, she died of cancer, you know, and well, I don't want to go through all that.
It was sad. And it was sad that it would happen to somebody like her because she looked so strong and so healthy. Never missed a beat mentally until her dying day. We all admired her.
Sorry she passed away. I'm sorry anybody passes away for that matter. I'll grieve for Babe in my own way. That was what I did.
You know, it was such a tragedy to us because she was our drawing card. Because she was there, we were there. She was the star, and people came because they knew her, and then they began to know us because of her.
People were afraid that maybe the LPGA Tour would fall apart.
Because the LPGA had been sold on Babe, I think it was very difficult. It was a huge blow for them.
We did all crazy things to try to get people to come watch us.
Shirley and I went to a boxing match, again, to try to get support.
We had to sit there and watch the fight, and they're punching each other and squirting the blood and get sweat on Marilyn.
I got woozy, and I couldn't go into the ring, but Shirley did. She walked through those ropes.
They ring the bell and this is Shirley Spork, and come out to the National Open and see the golfers tomorrow or the next day, and they all, all the boxers, boo, boo,
I don't know if any of those boxing fans came, but we did everything we could to get publicity.
People are really staring at you, and some are probably looking to hope that you foul up.
Did we worry that we were going to survive? I think every year we went home after the season, we didn't know what the next season was going to bring. It was always a worry.
We had to get more players. You've got to show that you're producing, like planting a plant. Is it going to grow? You're going to feed it, and it'll grow.
It's true that today men still monopolize the sport. Out of approximately 10 million golfers in the United States, only 2.5 million are women. But ladies golf is growing in popularity. And much of the credit for this growth goes to the LPGA, the Ladies Professional Golf Association.
There are great players like Patty Bird and Betsy Rawls and Mickey Wright who have played well for many, many years. The future of ladies professional golf really depends on the young pros that are now just getting started.
I also feel that the gals, as time goes on, will find their tour increasing not only in interest, but the volume of the tournaments, the amount of money they're playing for, and so forth will also increase, simply because golf has become so popular with the ladies in the United States.
I'm gonna keep on loving you to never, never, never say we're through.
When I started back in '62, I think we had 30, 35 players a week at best. And now we have many times 80 and 90 players.
We're gonna erase all the past and start out just me and you.
I think all of the players today have beautiful golf swings, have great will to win and desire.
We're starting our progress now, and I don't think there's any stopping. I think we're just climbing the ladder now. We're just about there, and I think all we can do now is go up.
Althea Gibson Darvin is probably one of the outstanding tennis stars of all time. She turned to professional golf in 1963 and has made a good showing for herself. Althea's athletic skill and her marvelous sense of humor have endeared her to both golf fans and the girls on the tour.
Althea Giverson was the first African-American woman to play on the tour. Well, Althea won Wimbledon twice, which was extraordinary. And then when she retired from tennis, she decided she wanted to take up professional golf.
Here's former U.S. and Wimbledon tennis champion Althea Gibson Darvin into professional golf now.
And I don't know how she managed. I mean, how she managed even to play professional golf, I don't know. But to manage as an African-American in those days really was a very difficult path to tread.
We were playing a tournament in Texas, and they wouldn't allow her in the clubhouse. So Lenny Wirtz was our tournament director, and all of us decided to not play at that course and move someplace else where she would be accepted.
We took care of each other, no matter what. I mean, we didn't believe in that. That's what we were fighting for, was equality as women. In fact, we boycotted 3 tournaments because they wouldn't let Althea change her shoes. She'd had to change her shoes in the car. So finally, there were a couple of places that we did not play because of that. Baton Rouge was one of them. as you can well imagine.
This is indicative of a true champion. Those who can sustain, stay out there, and win championship after championship.
And when Renee Powell came along after her, it was still unbelievably difficult for Renee, and she suffered a lot as well.
I think there were a lot of issues, certainly in our country. We had a lot of racial issues, and I certainly had problems at hotels. I had problems at restaurants. I had problems sometimes just trying to get into the locker room at various clubs. My peers on the tour were like a family. If there was an issue and somebody knew about it, they would always come to my defense.
That's one thing that the LPGA we're very proud of. We don't care what color you are or what, you're accepted.
And the LPGA is far more accepting than the PGA ever was.
The struggle of women in this country and the struggle of people of color in the country sort of run parallel, which is something that I've always sort of understood because I've been both. I am both, you know?
You know, when I think about growing up and being Hispanic and being a female, there were times I couldn't play at certain times. And with respect to the men, I think it was definitely a man's world back then.
They were pioneers in the really women's sports, not just golf, but women's sports. I mean, that really was the forerunner of all of women's sports.
You know, when we talk about Title IX, it came along long after the LPGA was formed.
The opportunities weren't there, and I think that's what's been frustrating to the woman who wants to be an athlete.
And I think that the perception is that a female is never a true athlete. I think it's harder for women to be athletes, and when they succeed, it's more of an accomplishment.
At one, Sheehan was the only one off the green. The Europeans were close, but not close enough. They missed.
I didn't plan on it. It wasn't something that I came out this big announcement. I just was tired of living in the closet. Really wasn't even talked about. I think that, you know, there were some of the players probably knew and some didn't, and it was just an accepted thing that, you know, this is who she is, and she's a hell of a player, and let's go play golf.
I know when I was a rookie, I thought, wow, you know, we're going to catch up with the guys, and our purses are going to be close to what they're making. And now, you know, 2014, I think we're about as far back as we were back then.
The purses between men's and women's it's always challenging. I think, you know, obviously our founders battled the same thing. It's still a current thing.
You look at some of the telecasts and you watch the coverage, and the way we're talked about is we're talked about as females, what we wear, how we're dressed, how we act, instead of our golf swings and the shots we can hit, you know, and that's something that we still struggle with. And until, you know, we get to the point where we're seen as athletes, we're going to continue to have smaller purses as the guys.
The PGA Tour's viewership today is probably, 3 to some cases 4 times the viewership of a women's event. And as a result of higher viewership, they can charge a higher sponsorship. And as a result of higher sponsorship, they can create a bigger purse.
I want to see our players playing for more money. I want to see our players playing on a bigger stage and getting the credit that they deserve. People don't know how good we are.
want the girls, you know, 20 years from now to be playing for more money and playing better golf courses, playing the courses the guys play every year. I think, you know, because I think we can. You know, people think that we're not good enough, but we can for sure. We can play with those guys.
I think that's probably the biggest message I'd like to give to, you know, to our daughter, that it's, you know, you have a dream and it can happen. It really can. You just have to, you know, go about it and do it. Even with our son, I want him to know that obviously he can do it too, but the girls can do it equally as well. So get used to it.
I was a rookie in 1996, and I just won the Sprint Title Holders Tournament, which was at that stage before the, not including the US Open, it was the biggest purse on the LPGA. And I won $180,000 first place, and Louise was in the media center. The first thing she said to me was, you know, girl, you won more money today than I won in my entire career. And you know, that really puts it in perspective. A 21-year-old, you know, I thought I was loaded at the time too. So to think that someone had won and accomplished that much in the game of golf, and I'd just achieved financially what she had in her whole career.
She said it with all the pride that a mom would have. It was almost overjoyed with the comment, and I thought right there, that's what separates the LPGA from other sports. These women take pride in creating those opportunities, when a lot of other sports almost have a bitterness about the fact that they played in the wrong era.
You know, people come to me and said, oh, aren't you upset? I mean, God, what could you be making now if you'd done the same thing? I said, no, I don't look at things that way. Everything has a, you know, I really don't.
Go get it. They're devoting a great deal of money to help promote junior girls golf. And that's where we're going to keep going forward, getting new young talent.
We made over $81,000 last year in this tournament. We think we're going to make over $100,000 this year. And we gave 20 $5,000 scholarships to help young girls go to college. And hold your finish, and forefinger and thumb, and toe the club to the target.
It's just a wonderful opportunity to inspire young women for character and honesty and hard work and determination.
Yeah, the LPGA's mission is real simple. We want to be the preeminent women's sports organization, and we want to do that by attracting the best female golfers in the world. Be the best women's organization, bring in the best and put them on display, and through that display effort, make sure we leave the game better and more opportunistic for the next generation of women in golf.
We have 5 tours. 5 tours. Not one tour, we have 5 tours. We have the Japanese, the Korean, the European, Australian. We have to learn your language, right? You gonna teach us?
The fact that women from all over the world go and make a living playing golf, more than a living. They can do incredibly well, and they have to thank those women pioneers.
You're playing great. Get in.
We created the Founders Cup because personally for me, I found I was gaining strength from learning about the founders and what drove them and what was important to them. And I realized that strength was still completely relevant today. But I wasn't sure that my young 19, 20, 21-year-old players were getting that same opportunity to see, hear, and feel the strength that came from 60 years ago.
That's almost too short, don't you think? That's
I think so.
Yeah. Wonderful putt. For playing. Hi, Brian, how are you?
Thanks for wearing pink today.
Say Founders Cup.
Founders Cup. To think we started with 13 players. Look where we are now. Isn't that something? 13 players.
Shirley, she's not. You're 87? No way. You can't be pushing like 57.
And a half. Do you have any major regrets looking back? Not about golf.
Yeah, I guess so. I would have liked to have learned a lot about music. I'd like to learn how to arrange flowers. I think that's an art, to be able to just, you're just gonna dump them in a vase. You gotta, this is coming down the hill.
Yeah, I think we'll make this.
She's a teacher at heart. I mean, she's just teaching from the minute she walks on the tee, and she still hits the, dead center square sweet spot of the golf club every time she swings.
The hill, it starts coming this way, and it comes over that hill. So I'm a founder of the tour and a founder of the teaching division. Put your thumbs right on it. So you get your hands are facing one another now. I don't get numerous prize monies, but I get the feeling that I've given something to carry on the game of golf.
She's priceless. I hope she gets in the World Golf Hall of Fame. She deserves to be in it.
Why wouldn't they put her in it?
Part of it's political, I think, honey. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I'm lucky I'm in. Where's Shirley? Is she in here? Come over here to the front. Come here. Don't get in the back. Get in the front. Get up here to the front. Please mind.
Please mind.
There. Thank you, sweetie.
You're a hero. What a legacy you've had. How's it feel to be?
I'm just an ordinary person. Lived an ordinary life. Thank you. Now here's something for you all. Oh, thanks.
I spend a lot of time talking to players about how to treat customers, how to treat those who are outside the ropes. What I really should have done, now that I know Marilyn, is just introduce Marilyn and left the room.
I'm so glad you're
She
here.
sends me a thank you note every time we talk, even if it's a phone conversation. I'll get a handwritten note saying, thanks for the time today, Commish.
Magnets to all of you before you go. Has the name of our tournament on it. Well, I've met 5 presidents and been in all 50 states and 37 countries just because of golf. Look what golf has given to me, and it's awesome. There's my trophy, my World Golf Hall of Fame trophy. Do you want me to hold that? You want a picture of that? Ooh, it's heavy, isn't it? It is heavy. Did you get it? Can't hold it too long. It's my prized possession, I guess you'd say. Something that's special. Can you come and get this, honey? Or... I will.
I gotta give you a hug because body language tells me you're a good person.
Thank you so much.
I'm serious.
He's the best we got. Let me just
Yeah.
switch your mic.
You have the right heartbeat.
When I think of Marlene, I think of longevity in golf. You just can't imagine that this woman could have gone on all those years.
Mrs. Marlena Bauer-Hagee sinks a big one.
You know, she's played professional golf at top level all that time. How did she do it? I've no idea. I mean, quite remarkable woman.
It's like I lived several different lifetimes because of the things that happened. I don't know how to describe it. Certainly nothing boring or mundane about it. If I could play another round of golf with somebody of the original 13, it would be my sister. Because I could see her again.
Uh-huh. Oh, this is good. Babe, and look at that hairdo. Babe and Louise shaking hands. That's a good one. After a tournament, probably, you know.
In 1988, Patty Berg had taken the bus to attend a dinner honoring Louise Suggs. And she said to me, she said, you know, I think Louise acted as if she was really glad I was there. And she said, I was happy to go. And I was delighted that she seemed happy I was there. She said, because, you know, Louise and I didn't always get along. And she said, I think it was because I was a good friend of Babe's. And she kind of settled back in the car seat and just stared out the window and said, but I think everything's okay now.
On one of Louise's visits to our club, her club, having lunch, she asked me if I would give her a tour, and I brought her down here to the lower level, and as she turned the corner from over here, and she spotted this piece of artwork of the Babe, she stood there and her face got red, and she says, what in the holy hell is this woman doing hanging on the wall of my club, and there's no artwork of me? And I said, Louise, please calm down. This is the basement area of the club. Over my shoulder, pretty soon, there's going to be an original piece of artwork of you. And that is on top of the Babe, where you have always been and how we always will see you. And that seemed to calm her down.
In all fairness and due process or whatever, without Babe, Babe Harris, we probably wouldn't have made it.
Louise Suggs was probably the one that did the most through it all. She was really dedicated, not that the others weren't, and she never got the credit that she should have gotten.
You know, it's the first time that I've ever been up there with the big boys. I think you have to keep looking and searching. And someday you'll find something, a real spot you want to enjoy. Then you can sit down and rest.
I was blessed. I've had so many wonderful blessings because of golf and the people that I've met along the way and the travels. I mean, it's just, we were blessed by the Lord or something, because it's bigger than ever now.
It's pretty exciting to be sitting here because, you know, if they weren't doing what they were doing back then, we wouldn't be here.
We all are, yes, very proud. Yeah, as you can see, what's happening today, that's something to be proud of.
I still feel very fortunate to be able to play the game that I love and make a living from it, and that's due to the 13 women that started this for us.
I think that all of us draw strength from, if we think about it, from what those women did. We have to have the greatest respect for people who have laid the groundwork for others to follow it.
to next year, right?
Yep. To next year.
Right.
There's a light in my life shining over me. There's a light in my life shining over me.
Golf is forever. Golf is forever. And say that again, golf is forever.
My precious love, there's a light in my life shining over me. Lord, sometimes I sit and I wonder why strange things happen to me. Then again, I feel my friends are gone, yeah. But if I put my trust in Jesus, the burdens will lighten. Don't you see there's a light in my life shining over me? Lord, walk with me, talk with me. Please stay close by my side. Be my shelter, be my comfort, be my guide, yeah. I was blind, but now I see. Jesus came and he rescued me. There's light in my life shining over me. There's a light in my life shining over me. There's a light in my life shining over me, yeah. Let your blessing from above fill me with thy precious love. There's a